meantime, Elon Musk, the world's richest man, says that he has secured $46.5 billion to finance a purchase of Twitter. The founder of Tesla and SpaceX made a public offer last week to buy the social media platform shortly after it was released that he had more than a 9% stake in the company. Twitter has not yet formally responded to Musk's offer. And joining me now to discuss is Rachel Bovard, Senior Policy Director at the Conservative Partnership Institute and Senior Tech Columnist at The Federalist. Rachel, welcome back. Always so good to see you. As you know, Elon Musk says that he has all his financing lined up to buy out Twitter, and he recently commented that the board's economic interests are simply not aligned with shareholders. I'd like to get your thoughts on all that.
So I think Elon Musk is coming at this from two angles. I think the first is he genuinely does not think that Twitter is serving its shareholders well. But you've also heard him talk about the fact that his interest in Twitter is primarily aligned around the interest of free speech. He wants to see this platform allow more speech. He said the economics don't matter to him. That's a really important motivation. So I think that's what's driving a lot of this.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, Twitter has not formally responded to the offer. However, Musk's initial bid to buy the company, the board actually unanimously voted to adopt a poison pill, which, of course, is a plan to essentially fend off a potential hostile takeover. Let's talk more about that and why there seems to be so much pushback to his offer.
Yeah, you've seen the board take a very defensive posture, adopting this poison pill designed, to avoid Musk taking over, but also, distill any attempt by anyone else to do so. And I think it's because Elon Musk in his comments has really grasped something significant about the role Twitter plays in the big tech universe, in our public square universe, which is that, even though it's much smaller than Facebook and Google, it exerts an outsized influence on news, on narrative formation. It's where cable news talks to each other. It's where stories begin and end. It's what drives the national conversation. Elon Musk has recognized this about Twitter, and so have the people that want to constrain the conversation on Twitter, including Twitter itself. You've heard the acting CEO of Twitter, Parag Agrawal, say this. He said, look, our responsibility is not the First Amendment. Our responsibility is to cultivate, healthy conversations. So they have two very different visions. And the country has two very different visions, I also think, for what social media should be. And you're seeing those clash right now at the highest level.
And Rachel, I'm curious, your take on all this. Ultimately, what do you think will end up happening?
Well, I'm surprised, that Elon Musk is actually hanging in there. I think anyone who's observed Elon Musk for any length of time knows he's a little bit mercurial. He's got some other projects. No one was certain if this was a really genuine effort or more of, something he was interested in today that he'd forget about tomorrow. But he is serious. It really does look like he's seriously putting, a lot of effort behind this. So it's going to be difficult. Should he continue to offer what he's offering, it's going to be difficult for Twitter to ignore it. They have a fiduciary responsibility to consider this in the interest of their shareholders. They cannot simply say nothing. So if Musk hangs in there, it's going to be very difficult for Twitter to turn this down.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what shakes out. I also want to get your take on Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signing that bill into law today that will strip Walt Disney of its self-governing status of its Orlando theme park. Talk to us about the significance of all this.
So I think this is a hugely significant shift, for the right, because for a long time, I think the right has said, okay, companies are going to do this. They grumble about it. They move on. Governor Ron DeSantis and the legislature of Florida has said, look, we're not going to take this. And I would point out, too, that the bill itself is not just Disney specific. It actually targets all special districts across the state, resets the state back to before those even existed, back to 1968, allows corporations to petition for those special districts to be put back into effect, but basically says, look, we shouldn't have this very specific legal entitlement for specific corporations. Everybody should be on an equal playing playing field. And I think it's significant also because, for the first time, you're starting to see the right actually push back against, what they term as woke capital, what I call woke capital. And, I think it's going to be interesting to see because corporations for a long time have thought they can just push people around. There's no more of this Michael Jordan's, Republicans buy sneakers too. A lot of these corporations actively disdain conservative values, and that will cost them in the market. And I think that this bill is a first step toward really enforcing that.
Okay, we're going to leave it right there. Rachel, thank you so much. I always appreciate your insights. Thank you.
My pleasure.